When that country music hits, you know it's time for another hour of sports talk here on Locker Room Buzz. I'm your host, CJ Tully, and we have a lot to get to today. Of course, we have the Philadelphia Phillies and the playoff push starting in just a week. And getting into all of that is last night had a bit of a fall off there. We also have a lot more going on in the MLB with the wildcard races really heating up. We had some teams clinch a spot within the past few days. We'll be getting into all of that. Also, the SEC unveils new league matchups. So we'll be getting into those. We'll be breaking down what that means for college football. That will be coming up shortly. We also have our college football breakdowns from last weekend, as there were a lot of great matchups, a lot of surprises as well. And then we'll be previewing this upcoming week. And in the NFL, Philadelphia Eagles pull off a comeback victory. Wow, what a block party it was. We also have a lot more that's been going on in the NFL, so we'll get to all that, as well as preview the Bucs game coming up for our Philadelphia Eagles. But, of course, let's lead off with the Philadelphia Phillies. As I mentioned, they got that 6-5 loss last night to the Marlins. Phillies were up 3-0 in this one. Kyle Schwarber hits his 54th home run of the season. I was getting some backlash for having him be the MVP. Still think that most valuable player means the guy who makes the biggest difference on your squad. And Kyle Schwarber, if he was not on the Phillies, the Phillies would not be in the position that they are within the playoffs. Take Shohei Ohtani off the Dodgers. They're still a billion-dollar team. Might as well. They didn't even win the 115 games that they were projected this year, so we'll keep that in mind as well. But going back to last night's game, Christopher Sanchez goes 7 innings pitched, allowing 3 hits, does not let up an earned run, and has 6 strikeouts in this game. That's when things started to fall apart, though, was when this bullpen came in. You had David Robertson come in, pitched 0.2 innings, allowing 3 hits, 1 earned run, and 2 runs overall. You then have Johan Duran come in with the chance to close this one out. He allows 2 hits, 1 earned run, and 1 inning pitched. This is now his 3rd blown save, and after all this camaraderie around Johan Duran, when we bring him in here and how locked down he is, and that, he still isn't allowed to walk, but that the fact that he would never let up a run at all, he's now gone to blow 3 saves, and I think a lot of this is coming down to just the fact that he seems to be a one-trick pony. Yes, he throws heat. He throws 102 to 104, and it's spectacular, but he's not mixing in anything different. He's not allowing any breaking balls in there. He's throwing his splitter at 98 miles an hour, and then his overall fastball is going in at 102 to 104, as I mentioned. So if you're not throwing in a breaking ball to throw batters off, they can hit that speed, and I think that's what we're starting to see with Johan Duran. And you just hope that this isn't something that we're going to see in the postseason, because he's supposed to be the lockdown guy. Without him, I'm not sure what this bullpen's going to be. You'll obviously be backing up some other players from the starting rotation into the bullpen, but Duran was supposed to be the lockdown, and you just hope that he could turn things around before the postseason starts. You also have Ryan Kerkering in this one, go an inning, allowing 1 hit, 2 runs, and 1 of those earned. So again, another guy that you had on the back end of this bullpen that you're looking to make a difference with. He is now allowing runs in crucial situations where you just don't want to have that happen. So this Phillies bullpen, does it worry you? It's starting to worry me just a little bit, given the fact that we're still not sure who that 3rd starter is going to be. It's looking like it's going to be Aaron Nola, but when you know how quickly things could turn around in an Aaron Nola start, you want to know that this bullpen could come in here and lock things down. You don't want to have to piggyback too much with Aaron Nola, because it does seem like he can give you a solid maybe 4 innings, but when he gets to that 5-6 inning mark, that's when he starts letting it loose and becomes home run galore, and you don't want to see that in the postseason. As I mentioned, though, Kyle Schwarber hits his 54th home run, so when it does come to Trey Turner coming back into this lineup, where will everybody fall? I still think you're going to have to keep Schwarber there in the 2 spot, but right now you have Harrison Bader playing pretty well up there in the leadoff spot. When Trey Turner comes back, do you look to move Harrison Bader back, or do you keep him in this leadoff role? If you're asking me, I think Harrison Bader should slot in at that 4 spot. I think Trey Turner, the way that he has been and the way that his average has been for the Phillies this year, as he is one of the top NL leading average hitters, you don't want to take that out from the leadoff spot, especially when you have Kyle Schwarber, who can do so much damage in the 2 spot. When you look at Bryce Harper, not always the most productive this year. He's had some spots where there's big gaps within his performance. But, again, you don't want to really slide him out of the 3 spot, so I'd keep him there. And then Harrison Bader, again, with the production that he's been able to give you, especially with the doubles, that comes up clutch in the postseason. I would slot him there at the 4 spot, and then you can kind of work your way down with Bohm, JT, Marsh. If it's going to be Kepler or Castellanos, we'll see. Again, actually, on that point, want to point out Castellanos with another big hit last night. Again, all the slander towards Castellanos. The media really pushing this narrative towards Castellanos to make him say something that's going to get him wrung out of here next year. Not a fan of that. I think I'll get to that point later as well with the Eagles, but Philadelphia media in general, let's stop hating on our own. Let's start to support them. We have a big World Series push that we're going to be making in just a couple weeks. So why put this out there that Castellanos might not be here next year? What is his plans? He's answered them absolutely perfectly. He says he wants to be here, and he says his focus right now is on the season ahead of him. Why would he look any further than that? And I love to hear that from Nick Castellanos because, again, it's true. We have something great ahead of us. The Phillies have worked towards this for about 4 or 5 years now, and you don't want to see that get pushed to the side just because of one situation. Castellanos has been a team player. This whole outfield has been team players with the platooning. So you just hope to see that continues, and especially with Nick Castellanos, the way that he can be clutch, making that sliding play last night as well as the hit and extra innings there to make things interesting. So again, we'll see what happens with that. But with this lineup, I think a lot of it does come down to who's going to be hot at the time, as well as the lefty-righty matchup that we know Rob Thompson loves to use. So I mentioned before that Aaron Nola has been kind of ticky-tacky as to what you're going to get out of him, especially coming back from that injury, because right before that, he was absolutely horrible. But he had a few good starts coming back from the injury. So as I said, I think it's going to be him getting that third spot. But now we got to look at Walker Buehler as well. Now 2-0 with the Phillies since being picked up before the deadline to when he could play in the postseason was up, coming over from the Red Sox where he was 7-7 with about a 6 ERA. He now is 2-0 with the Phillies with a 1.04 ERA, 6 strikeouts in 8.2 innings pitched. So Walker Buehler is somebody, obviously a lot of postseason. He's pitching a lot of postseason games, but with the starts that he's had in the postseason, you've also seen him put together some good bullpen efforts. So now I'm asking the question, if Aaron Nola gets the start, do you then piggyback that with a Walker Buehler? You've seen them be doing this with Walker Buehler and Taijuan Walker. Is that the kind of matchup you want? Maybe you start Buehler, then you put Nola in the back end. I'm really curious what's going to happen with this third spot, and I wonder if the Phillies do win their first round, if things would change up going into the second round. I also wonder if it's going to determine on who are they playing in the first round, because you do have a few players on like the Cubs, for instance, that their better players are lefties. So when you look at that, do you run that third lefty? Do you do the Ranger, Sanchez, and Luzardo? So that's always in the question. But again, Rob Thompson hasn't yet said who his starters are going to be. Christopher Sanchez is going to start game 1 of the postseason. But then from there, is it going to be Ranger? Is it going to be Luzardo? Is it going to be Nola? That's the question to be asked. Again, if anybody has any opinions on this, 610-701-9243. Feel free to call in during a break, and we'll get you on for your opinion. Finishing up on the Phillies, though, they do need to win 2 more games to lock up that first-round bye. There's been a lot of conversation as to whether or not the bye week is worth it. I think there's 2 ways to look at it. One, statistically, the bye teams doesn't work out that well for them. So there's that aspect of it. Because you want the hot team, you want to be hot coming into the postseason. And, if you don't play that first round, you're kind of the one sitting around while other teams are ramping it up. But when you look at the second round, that's where you get your hot start, but it eventually runs out. And you're starting to see that, especially when you look at the Mets, how hot they were going into that first round, how they beat the Phillies, and then things just fell off in the next round for them there. I'm on board with just getting the bye week, getting some players healthy. This is an aging team here. You're going to want everybody at their best. Trey Turner's still recovering. Alec Boehm just came back from his injury. So we're going to want to see everyone get to their best production before the postseason. And again, I think in that time, you got to do those small camp games where, you're still getting active. You're playing scrimmages, stuff like that. Keep players warm. But again, nothing too strenuous to where you're not playing that first round, if that makes sense. But in other MLB news here, before we cut to our first time out, Cleveland comes back last night from a 2-0 deficit to win 5-2 over the Tigers. They now hold a tiebreaker and first place in the AL Central. They are 9-1 in their last 10 games, and they played the Tigers now 4 of those games within that 10, and they are 4-0 in that. So that's huge for Cleveland, as the Tigers are now 1-9 in their last 10 on a 7-game losing streak, and they have completely lost hold of this division and the number 1 seed within the American League. They currently hold the last wildcard spot by just a single game after being completely dominant throughout the whole rest of the season. And they at one point, they led this division by 11 games. That was on September 4th. So even under a month ago, they were up 11 games in this division, and they've completely let this thing fall apart. And Cleveland is playing scrappy baseball. I saw a meme the other day, or like a little video, about how it's kind of resembling Major League, the movie, and how, we put together a few wins, and they take the clothes off the owner woman's cardboard cutout, but it's kind of reminding of that, of where they're just kind of putting things together. Last night, they scored a few runs with all infield hits. I believe it was 3 runs in an inning without the ball leaving the infield. So impressive stuff there, putting the bunts down when need be and just playing small ball. This Cleveland team is fun, and they're a team that was, rumored to get rid of Steven Kwan. They held on to him, and you're seeing what this team's able to put together. I think that is interesting, and I think that's a team that people can hop on to root for within this postseason. So that was on the AL side. Flipping over to the NL side, there's still a race between 3 teams for that final NL wildcard spot. That would be the Reds, the Mets, and the Diamondbacks. The Reds are playing 3 games against the Pirates, and then they'll play 3 games at the Brewers. They lost their first game to the Pirates last night. That's going to come back as a crucial loss for them there. The Mets, on the other hand, they play 3 games at the Cubs, and then 3 at the Marlins. So the Marlins have been red hot now, 7 straight wins for them. But Mets did come back last night and win over the Cubs, so they now hold the last spot currently. And then you have the Diamondbacks, who will play 3 versus the Dodgers and then 3 at the Padres. So of the teams that are still competing here, they have the toughest remaining schedule, but they did pick up a win last night against the Dodgers. So things are getting very interesting here. Going through this wild card, you have the Cubs, who are currently the top spot within the National League wild card, up 7 games on that. You have the Padres then up 5.5 games. Then that final spot, as I said, is held right now by the Mets. The Diamondbacks are a game back, and the Reds are a game back. Now looking at this AL side, you had the Yankees clinch last night as they got a big win over the White Sox. That was a comeback win, walk-off in the bottom of the 9th. They hold the top spot in the AL wildcard at 4 games. I believe they're only a game behind Toronto in that, so they could still win the AL East. And then you have the Red Sox under them. They're a game up within this wild card. Then you have Detroit, as I said. They are the last spot right now. And then you have Houston under them. They are a game back. And the Royals and Rangers were just officially eliminated yesterday. But Houston still with a shot in this. It would be crazy to see Detroit fall out of this entire playoff picture, given the start that they had to the season. And, I mean, they were up, I want to say, like 15 games at some point in this division. This was their division to lose. They're starting to lose it now. You saw a bit of a fall off by them around the All-Star break. They started to gain games back. But now, again, hitting another wall, and it doesn't look like it's going to be sustainable wins for them to finish out the season. But again, we'll see how this series finishes out here with Cleveland. There's going to be a crucial next 2 games, as again, Cleveland does hold the tiebreaker now. So we'll see how this all falls out. Another team that would be interesting to miss the postseason is Houston. I mean, they've ran October for the past few years. Obviously, all those AL championship games, and obviously all the World Series appearances as well. So if Houston isn't able to make the postseason, that might mean the Chiefs are next, because all these dynasties might just be crumbling apart. Another team in the AL I do want to talk about is Seattle, as they've clinched a playoff spot, and looks like they're about to clinch this division as well. It's between them and Houston in that aspect. But again, another team that never been to a World Series. Could they make some run here? Cal Raleigh having his magical year. You're going to want to look to capitalize on that, because this is an outlier within his career. So you're going to want to capitalize on those moments when you get them, because there's no saying that Cal Raleigh and this Mariners team is going to be able to sustain this next year and for years to come. But that is enough on baseball. When we come back from break, I'll be getting into this SEC, new matchups that they'll be doing, as well as a recap of next week and a preview, or recap of last week and a preview to next week. So stay tuned here on 95.3 WCHE. Locker Room Buzz. I'm your host, CJ Tully. And as I said before, the SEC did unveil some new league matchups for the 4 seasons coming up. We'll keep most rivalries intact, but again, there's some other things that will be changing up with this. So I have an article here in front of me. I highlighted some of the key points to try and explain this all to you guys. So the Southeastern Conference announced league matchups for the next 4 years on Tuesday. The new format begins next year and runs through 2029, with the SEC having the option to tweak it every 4 years to maintain competitive balance. Each team will play 3 opponents annually and rotate through the remaining 12. Every team plays at every SEC venue at least once over the 4-year span. Geography and competitive fairness were factored into the decision, but not as predominantly, maintaining long-standing rivalries like the Iron Bowl, the Egg Bowl, Red River rivalry, the Magnolia Bowl, the Deep South's oldest rivalry, and the third Sunday in October. So again, a lot of these matchups they've wanted to keep as is. Again, just for anybody who's newer to college football, the Iron Bowl is Bama versus Auburn. The Egg Bowl is Mississippi State versus Ole Miss. Red River rivalry is Oklahoma and Texas. Magnolia Bowl is LSU and Ole Miss. The Deep South's oldest rivalry is Auburn and Georgia. The third Saturday in October is Alabama and Tennessee. And the world's largest outdoor cocktail party is Georgia and Florida. So all of these rivalries are going to be kept maintained. That was the biggest thing when SEC did make this. But I do think that this is a good thing for the sport. Again, this will change every 4 years. But to know that there's going to be these matchups and you're going to still get the great rivalries that there are in the SEC, because let's be honest, it is a powerhouse. A lot of the greatest matchups throughout the college football season come from SEC versus SEC. So with this new 4-year plan here, it does leave, I'll go through the teams that will be playing each other. Alabama will play Auburn, Mississippi State, and Tennessee. Arkansas will play LSU, Missouri, and Texas. Auburn will play Alabama, Georgia, and Vanderbilt. Florida will play Georgia in a neutral site. Kentucky and South Carolina. Georgia will play Auburn, Florida in a neutral site, and South Carolina. Kentucky will play Florida, South Carolina, and Tennessee. Mississippi State will play Alabama, Ole Miss, Vanderbilt. LSU will play Arkansas, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, and so forth. I'll probably post a video here breaking this down even further. That'll be on LRBuzz_pod. But just important stuff there, if you are a college football fan, to keep an eye on the SEC, because competitive games are the best thing for college football. Nobody wants to see the blowouts, and we've been getting a lot of that. So to break that down and get some of these bigger matchups every year now for the next 4 years will be fun to watch. Just keep an eye on that. So let's break down college football from week 4. We had some great matchups, some teams that I think people weren't aware of now coming out here, and they really got to show themselves off on the field. That was shown in the Texas Tech 34-10 victory over Utah. Texas Tech is a team that I've been saying from the jump to keep an eye on there in the Big 12. They had the most transfers come in. They spent the most money in the offseason. So Texas Tech was not a team to be messed around with, and I'm glad that they finally got to show that on the grand stage there at 12 o'clock on Saturday. Utah was home and favored in this one by 2.5, but Texas Tech going in there and getting it done. They're now 4-0 on the season, ranked number 12 in the AP poll. Biggest storyline in this one, Baron Morton, their starting quarterback, he throws for 142 yards and 2 interceptions, but he left in the third quarter with a head injury. So in had to step Will Hammond, who went 13 for 16, 169 yards with 2 touchdowns. He's had himself a solid season. He's come in a lot of blowout games, but he came in here well for Texas Tech and was able to get it done, as they did have 24 points in the fourth quarter. And keep in mind now that the starting quarterback did come out in the third, this was all done under Will Hammond, getting those 24 points within the fourth quarter. You also had Cameron Dickey, their running back, go 13 carries for 67 yards and 2 touchdowns. That now brings him to 6 touchdowns on the season. A good rush attack there by Texas Tech. Texas Tech also has a really deep wide receiver core, as Coy Eakin did not even have to have a big role in this one, and he is their lead receiver with 206 yards and 3 touchdowns on the season. Your leading wide receiver here was Reggie Virgil, as he goes 6 receptions for 72 yards and a touchdown. And then you also had Jacoby Williams go for 71 yards himself. So again, Texas Tech not having to utilize everything in their playbook to be able to get this win here by Utah. It was a lot closer. As I said, 24 of those points coming within the fourth quarter. But Utah did put up a good fight. Devin Dapier going 25 for 38, 162 yards. Did throw 2 costly interceptions. Those were to Jacob Rodriguez and Bryce Pollock. That was Pollock's 3rd interception on the season. He also rushed for 225 yards in this one with a touchdown. He was their leading rusher, of course. And then Nakeem Rogers, the running back, he also had 10 carries for 37 yards. Not too big a day from him. Their lead receiver was Dallin Bentley. He had 75 yards in this game here. On top of the 2 interceptions thrown, though, by Devin Dapier, they also had 3 fumbles and 2 of those lost. So Texas Tech defense making a statement, getting those extra possessions, and that helps when you're bringing in a backup quarterback. So again, that was Texas Tech making a statement win there against Utah. Again, now ranked number 12. Watch out for Texas Tech in this Big 12, as you've had a few of the bigger dogs in this conference fall off. Texas Tech, powerhouse there in the Big 12. Now going forward, you had an SEC matchup here of Auburn versus Oklahoma. Oklahoma winning this one 24-17, as they were favored by 6.5 in this one. Auburn now falls to 3-1 on the season. Jackson Arnold was 21 for 32 in this one with 220 yards and a touchdown. This is a big game for him, having started his career there in Oklahoma, coming back to the Sooner Stadium there and not able to get it done. Leading wide receiver was Cam Coleman. He went for 88 yards and a touchdown. They controlled nearly 10 minutes more of the clock over Oklahoma, but again, those long drives don't always result in the points that are needed, and they just weren't able to get it done against Oklahoma. On the Oklahoma side of things, John Mateer, Heisman favorite after this weekend. We'll be getting into some bad news about him, but he does go 24 for 36, 271 yards and a touchdown. He also rushes for a touchdown in this one. He's been a complete dual threat for this team this year, as he's thrown for 1,215 yards, 6 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's also rushed for 190 yards and 5 touchdowns. He is the team's leading rusher. With all of that being said, Matier is going to miss, I think it's 3 to 4 weeks, maybe 5 weeks, with right hand surgery to fix a hand that he injured in this Auburn game. That's a big hit. I mean, if you guys listen to my podcast there, it's on Let's Talk Sports, that's on YouTube, and Spotify just created that. I had a video yesterday breaking down this Oklahoma game. This was before the news came out about John Matier, and it was a completely different attitude I had toward this Oklahoma team when you looked at this. Oklahoma does not have a great rushing game. Leading rusher here has 284 yards on the season. 127 of those coming. Or no, that's a wide receiver. They actually don't have a running back over that many yards. So when you are looking at this team here for Oklahoma, what are you going to do if you now have a backup quarterback? You lose your switchblade Arby knife and your lead rusher in John Matier at quarterback. I think things might be wrapped up for Oklahoma here. Now, as I said, there was a lot going on here with this Oklahoma team. They had 9 sacks on defense, so this defense can hang them in with games here. Again, that's all against Auburn, so a good offense there to be able to get 9 sacks. But when I looked at their upcoming schedule, I was like, okay, John Matier can handle a lot of these games. I think Oklahoma can make a real run within this SEC. You take John Matier out of this equation, now you have to play Texas, Ole Miss, at Tennessee, at Alabama, Missouri, and LSU. I don't know how many of those games you can win without John Matier under center. You have I think you have Kent State next week. That could be a game where you kind of get right with your backup here. Again, I haven't deep dove too much into this backup quarterback situation. I'll be doing that more on my podcast tomorrow. That'll be coming out tomorrow on Thursday. But Texas is starting to look like the real deal again. I don't know if you can handle them, especially that great defense, without having John Matier as quarterback. The Ole Miss, another team, I think they're a little high ranked right now. But again, they're not a team to mess around with. I don't know if you can handle them. And you definitely cannot handle at Tennessee without John Matier. So, can you tread water long enough? Can you make enough happen there on offense to get over some of these great teams, hang in there till John Matier comes back? It's a shame what happened, though, because he was the favorite now for Heisman. I've been parading around about this guy. And now they go out here 4-0, ranked number 7 in the country. And they lose their best guy. And it's looking pretty grim there for this Oklahoma team. Going on, though, we also had another Big Ten matchup here between Michigan and Nebraska. That game, Michigan was favored by 2.5. They get the victory here. Michigan wins. They're now 3-1 on the season. Bryce Underwood went 12 for 22 for 105 yards, 61 yards, and a touchdown. He now has 733 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception on the season. So not getting too much done in the air, but again, he's giving them enough to work with. He's not losing games for them, so that's enough if you ask me. Justice Haynes, though, he's the guy to keep an eye on. 17 carries, 149 yards, and a touchdown in this game. He now has 537 and 6 yards and 6 touchdowns on the season. Actually, I posted a video the other day about this, breaking down if Justice Haynes was a sleeper pick for the Heisman. One guy came and said that, some of these numbers are buffed because a lot of these are 75-yard runs, blah, blah, blah. A lot of people going at him saying, is he supposed to fall on the ground after 5 yards just to get more carries? So I can see both points. Again, if a lot of the runs are big runs, you can't have that hurt somebody's, their record, though, just because they are longer runs. So Justice Haynes, still somebody I'm really admiring here, and I think that they should keep an eye on. Michigan had 8 rushing touchdowns last week, with 6 different players scoring those rushing touchdowns. So very impressive there. Had 3 rushing touchdowns this week, and they had a very run-dominant game as they had 290 yards on the ground with, like I said, those 3 touchdowns. Nebraska didn't play bad in this one. They're now 3-1 on the season. They are now unranked. But Dylan Raiola, 30 for 41, 308 yards, 3 touchdowns with an interception. He now has 1,100 yards and 11 touchdowns with just that 1 interception on the season. So again, like what I'm seeing out of Dylan Raiola, Nebraska was my sleeper pick within the Big Ten, so I wouldn't count them out just yet. Just that 1 loss. But there's a lot of great teams within this Big Ten. 1 loss can really cause you there. A lot of holes on defense, though, within this one for Nebraska. Again, as I said, great rushing attack by Michigan. They were just not able to cover anything. A lot of Michigan's biggest runs, they were going uncontested, able to just cut through the middle there. But again, the great offense was still there, and you could not count them out in this one. Going forward, though, another great Big Ten matchup. Illinois loses 63-10 to Indiana. Indiana was favored by 6.5 in this one. Illinois is now 3-1 on the season. I was parading around that Illinois was going to be a great team. within this matchup, especially as Luke Altmaier is somebody I've been watching a lot of. 14 for 22 in this one, 146 yards and a touchdown. On the season now, 855 yards with 9 touchdowns, yet to throw an interception. And I thought that's where the difference would be made, not being able to turn the ball over. But again, on the other end of things, you have Fernando Mendoza, who also hasn't turned the ball over, as he goes 21 for 23 in this game, 267 yards, 5 touchdowns without the interception. Fernando Mendoza really put his name on the map in this game, as they now have a highly ranked Indiana team at number 11, 4-0 on the season, 975 yards with 14 touchdowns now on the season for Mendoza. With Indiana creeping up here, that could be a possible Heisman pick. Texas A&M's quarterback Reed, he's somebody else I think could slip in there as a Heisman candidate. But with the whole thing going on here with John Mateer, a lot of these things are going to open up, and I think that you can make a case there for Fernando Mendoza. Some other things that went well for Indiana in this game. Kobe Martin at running back, he goes 107 yards with 2 touchdowns. Their lead running back on the season is Kaylon Black. He went 89 yards with a touchdown on this one, 306 yards now total on the season. And their number 1 wide receiver in this one, Elijah Sarai, keep an eye on him. 92 yards, 2 touchdowns, now bringing him to 5 touchdowns on the season. Not just on the offensive end, but Indiana had a great defensive game. 5 sacks last week, and now 7 sacks against this Illinois team. Now, I believe if memory is serving me right, Luke Altmaier was the most sacked quarterback in college football last year. So not too surprising with that. They brought back a lot of the same pieces, just hoping for a different outcome. But to see that happen again, 7 sacks is not much you can do about that. Mendoza has still not thrown an interception. But I do want to get to this next game without having to cut off, so we'll be going to a quick timeout here. Stay tuned here on 95.3 WCHE. And welcome back to Locker Room Buzz. I'm CJ Tully. Last game here on the slate I wanted to get into was Florida at Miami. Miami wins this one 26-7. They are favored by 8.5 in this one. Florida, just nothing going well for them this season. They only had 141 yards of total offense. DJ Lagway, all the hype around him, seemingly not panning out well for them. You're just not getting it done in any aspect of any game. Now 1-3 on the season. Miami, on the other hand, surprising me and surprising many with how well they've been able to play with this misfit toy kind of team that they have over there on offense. Now 4-0 on the season, bumped all the way to the second-ranked team in the country. And Carson Beck, 972 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions on the season. What a bounce back for him after all the controversy and the noise around him coming into this transfer from Georgia. He's been able to block it out and get it done. You pair that with running back Mark Fletcher, 388 yards and 5 touchdowns on the season. He had another 116 yards this past week against Florida. And then just this wide receiving core. It's a very deep core. You don't need everybody to produce. C.J. Daniels is somebody I talk about a lot. Came out here from LSU without a touchdown last season. He's been getting it done. Shamar Brown, a running back, he has 53 yards receiving, which was the lead receiver in this game. So again, not even having to target your wide receivers in this one. And then tight end Elijah Lofton goes for 43 yards as well. And again, none of those being wide receivers, and those were your top receivers. So Miami able to find different ways to get it done. Carson Beck able to find his targets, and I'm very high on this Miami team, especially with the fall-off of Clemson. I think this is Miami's ACC to lose. Florida State, don't get me wrong, they're going to be up there to compete as well, as you're seeing a lot of big victories out of them. And I think that their victory over Alabama has only gained more weight given how well Alabama has played since then. So Florida State, Miami could be the two teams competing there for the ACC. Don't yet count out Georgia Tech because they've been playing well as well. But again, I think Miami is the top dog here, and this is their ACC to lose. So some of my standout games here that I wanted to get into before I preview next week. We had Syracuse pretty much dig Clemson's grave this weekend. They went 34-21. Clemson was minus 17.5 in this game. Luckily, I took the Syracuse spread. But wow, Clemson to choke this bad. I mean, now 1-3 on the season. Wow, they were my national champion, guys. That says a lot. Steve Angeli, though, 18 for 31, 244 yards and 2 touchdowns in this game. But he did take a hit to the head, so he'll be out for the season. So any hope that was still there for Syracuse, I feel like it almost goes out the door now with Angeli gone. Syracuse is now 3-1, though, still live in the ACC. But again, Angeli, 1,300 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions on the season. That's going to be hard to replace. But again, I think that Syracuse's performance does stand out to me in this game. You also have USC ranked 21 now. They continue to dominate. I don't think USC is a team people are talking about within this Big Ten. Again, a lot of great teams in the Big Ten. This is a pretty deep Big Ten that I don't think people give enough respect to. You have the powerhouses of Ohio State, Oregon, and Penn State up there. But again, Penn State have to get this win this weekend. I'll be previewing that in just a bit, but I think that considers them a powerhouse or not. But USC, on the other hand, 4-0 this season, including 2 Big Ten wins. That was over Purdue and more recently over Michigan State. Quarterback Jaden Mayava, he has 1,200 yards this season, 9 touchdowns, and no interceptions, including 4 rushing touchdowns this year for him. Wayman Jordan now 443 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground game. And Mekhi Lemon, he has 438 yards and 3 touchdowns as a wide receiver. So, USC looking great, one of the top offenses in college football. Haven't played too much competition yet. Michigan State, no team to wink at, though, as they are a great powerhouse team over there. But these games coming up are going to determine a lot for them. They're going to be at Illinois this week. They're then going to have home versus Michigan, at Notre Dame, at Nebraska, Northwestern, Iowa, at Oregon, and UCLA. Can they get out of this with just 1 or 2 losses? I think that's going to be the biggest thing for them. You have a great Indiana team right now that's really going to be holding in that 3rd spot between those powerhouses within the Big Ten. I don't think that the Big Ten is going to get 4 teams. So I think that these games within Ohio State playing Penn State playing Oregon, those games, they're going to eat each other up. And then I think there's going to be one other team that can kind of slide their way in there, maybe win the Big Ten championship. USC, again, not a team to just bet your eyes at. So who are the games this weekend? Who are we going to be watching? It's one of the best weekends in college football we're going to be having this season, especially thus far. I think this is the best weekend. So grab a beer, sit down, and watch some college football this weekend on Saturday. It's going to be starting off at 12 o'clock. USC 21 at Illinois 23. Again, Illinois taking that smacking by Indiana kind of tampers this game a little bit. But let's see what USC can do here on the road at Illinois. That'll be at 12 o'clock. 3:30, Ohio State ranked number 1 versus unranked Washington. Washington is 3-0. I don't believe they've lost a home game in years now. They're one of the top offenses. Washington getting, I think, a little disrespected without being ranked, and especially with, I mean, the line's now, I think, 8.5 the last time I saw it. I would take them to cover that. Little preview to my picks for this weekend, as I'll be putting out a video tomorrow. That'll be on YouTube and Spotify at Let's Talk Sports. Be sure to check that out. And more content at LRBuzz_pod as well. But again, that game 3:30, Ohio State at Washington. Do not sleep on Washington in this one. I think they're going to make some noise, and I think they're going to put their names on the map. Again, not saying that they're necessarily going to win, but I think this is a tougher matchup for Ohio State than most people would think. 3:30 also, we're going to have number 4 LSU headed to number 13 Ole Miss. Posted a video yesterday on TikTok about this. Ole Miss's coach, Lane Kiffin, saying take the over in this game as his daughter is dating Whit Weeks, somebody who was featured within the SEC documentary on Netflix. He's a linebacker there at LSU. So a bit of a not controversy, but little fuel to the fire there between the two of them as Ole Miss's head coach is dating the linebacker on LSU. 3:30, you're going to have Auburn at Texas A&M. Like I said, you've been getting some great play out of Auburn, now 3-1 on the season. Texas A&M with the big win over Notre Dame on the road. Keep an eye on Reed in that one. Texas A&M ranked number 9. If Auburn can get this win, I think that changes the trajectory of their season. And again, I think same thing there with Texas A&M. If they could pick up another big win under their belt, Texas A&M is a team that I think will be competing for a playoff spot this year. 4:15, we're going to have Tennessee number 15 at Mississippi State. Mississippi State, a team I would have not even worried about if I was Tennessee just a few weeks ago, but I saw what happened with that noise at Mississippi State. Arizona State and Sam Levitt could not hear themselves think. It caused so many issues on that offensive end for Arizona State. I'm not going to give my pick actually, but Mississippi State, do not sleep on them. At home, Tennessee, great. Joey Aguilar looking phenomenal, but that atmosphere, this game's at 4:15, so maybe not the same liquid courage in folks at this game, but it's going to be a good matchup here between Tennessee and Mississippi State. 7 o'clock, you're going to have Arizona at Iowa State. Iowa State ranked 14. Arizona still undefeated on the season as one of the teams. I forget what conference. I think they're an independent squad in the outside 6 teams there. But I think this is another good matchup here. And I think if Iowa State loses this one, I think that, again, opens the door so much for Texas Tech and what they can be this season. 7:30, you're going to have the big matchup, Whiteout at Penn State, Oregon number 6 at Penn State number 3. Penn State's a fraudulent number 3. They have not beaten anybody yet. They've kind of sleptwalked through some of their games. Everybody knows I'm not a big Penn State fan, but objectively looking at this game, Oregon could be one of the best teams in college football. And Penn State has yet to proven that under James Franklin, they can win any of these big games. They lost the Big Ten championship to Oregon. They lost a regular season game that I was at last year to Ohio State. They lost in the postseason to Notre Dame. The only two teams they could beat in the postseason were SMU and Boise State. Neither of those had enough talent to compete with Penn State to begin with. When Penn State plays a team that is a matchup game where they can compete with somebody on their own standard, they are not able to win. So Oregon in this one, I think winner of this game, it's going to be a big step if Penn State can win this one. Finally get a big win under their belt. Whiteout, the atmosphere is going to be there. But having been to a bunch of Penn State games, every game's pretty much a whiteout. Everyone's merchandise is white. I don't see the big difference. Anyway, Oregon in this one, I think, has a great shot. Get Mekhi Hughes involved. Yeah, you bring him in from Tulane, one of my favorite running backs. I tweet it every week about his standing and how many snaps they give him. It's a little disappointing. Get Mekhi Hughes some touches. He's a 1,000-yard rusher, I think, the last 2 or 3 years. Get him some touches. And then finally on that nightcap, you're going to have Alabama 17 at Georgia number 5. This matchup, again, always a telltale sign of who's going to be competing within this SEC. Stockton over there at Georgia has completely turned around his season and everything that people think about him. Alabama, on the other hand, they have righted the ship since that loss over there to Florida State. Ty Simpson really getting it done for them, and they still have Ryan Williams. Keep an eye on him, one of the most explosive wide receivers in the game. You're definitely want to keep an eye on them there. I'm going to cut to another quick break real quick just so I can go football from here on out. But stay tuned here, or the NFL football, that will be. We have a lot to talk about with the Eagles, the rest of the slate within football, and maybe some previews to next week as well. We'll see what time permits. But stay tuned here on 95.3 WCHE. Welcome back to Locker Room Buzz. I'm CJ Tully. Let's close this one out here. We had the Rams at the Eagles this weekend. Wow, what a rush of emotions throughout this game. Eagles end up winning this one 33-26. But that took us a while to get there. I mean, let's be honest here. This Eagles team did not look like they knew how to play football in the first half. Saquon Barkley was just getting stuffed up the middle. I saw him running up his lineman's butts a lot. There was just so much going on here. This Eagles team did not look like they had a chance in this game. Looks like there was a lot that just wasn't going to go right. They had a lot of drives that were going negative yardage to finish off the drives. They go into the halftime. Again, still looking very grim, down 16-7. Come out there, they fumble on the first possession there. Kyron Williams scores. They end up going on to have a 26-7 lead in this game. That's when the offense started to turn it on. Jalen Hurts took it into his own hands, and they got this one done. Dallas Goedert, 33-yard touchdown to get things started. That leads to a Rams punt on the next possession. Eagles then get a touchdown by A.J. Brown, 9-yard touchdown there to make this one 26-21. Then it became a battle of defense as it was the Rams turned it over, the Eagles turned it over. Then the Rams had a chance to get another field goal in this one, blocked by Jalen Carter. Eagles then take that, go down the field, and score with a Devontae Smith 4-yard touchdown on fourth down to make it 27-26 as they could not convert the 2-point conversion. Then the Rams go down. They get another blocked field goal. This one would have won them the game. Blocked by Jordan Davis, 33-26. Eagles win as they return it back to the end zone. Who are the key stats in this one? Jalen Hurts, 21 for 32, 226 yards, 3 touchdowns. He also rushed for 40 yards and a touchdown. Something I noticed with Jalen Hurts from week 1, he was able to move around the pocket very well. He was rushing. He was taking it upon himself to get things done. Week 2, we did not see the same Jalen Hurts. We did not see the rushing yards. We did not see him moving around as frequently. He got back to week 1 here as there were more design runs for Jalen Hurts, and you also saw Jalen Hurts take it into his own hands enough. Saquon Barkley, on the other hand, 18 carries, 46 yards. You can't be having that for Saquon Barkley. He had a few nice spin moves to get a first down here and there. But I think a lot of this was a result of the fact that they knew they were just going to run the ball. I think if the Eagles continue to go out here and they start to throw the ball early, I think that'll open up the box a little bit more for Saquon to make some plays. You had A.J. Brown finally have his resurgence game, 6 receptions, 109 yards, and 1 touchdown. This man did not go down. There were so many little boy moments in this game where he was just tossing people off of him. It was incredible to watch. It was fun to watch, and it shows you that give A.J. Brown competitive balls and he'll make something happen. Pause. Devontae Smith, on the other hand, 8 receptions, 60 yards, and that crucial touchdown on fourth down. And then Dallas Goedert Dallas Goedert coming back from injury. Just the one reception for 33 yards and a touchdown, but it was a very big one at that. On defense, Cooper DeJean leads the team with 9 tackles. Zach Bond had an interception there on the first drive. Also had 5 solo tackles for him. Jordan Davis, can't say enough about the guy. Big stop on Safford, rushing on third down. This is a play I don't know if a lot of people caught on to. I know I had noticed it, that it was Matt Safford rolling left on a third down play. Jordan Davis bolts out of the pile, comes out there and stops him on a very crucial third down. You just saw he lost like 20 pounds, I believe they were saying 26 pounds. You saw the extra jolt that he had, especially running back that touchdown. And then you had the blocked return, blocked field goal for a return, touchdown there to end things off. So a great day by Jordan Davis. He also had the blocked field goal by Jalen Carter. So the Eagles will now go into a big game here against the Bucs this weekend at Tampa Bay, a place that the Eagles are not able to win for the past few years. I know my brother was down there last year, sweating his buns off in a game where the Eagles just did not show up at all. Baker Mayfield this season, 615 yards, 6 touchdowns without an interception. He also has rushed for 116 yards, which is not always something that you're seeing out of Baker Mayfield. But again, Baker's got that dog in him. I just got myself a Baker Mayfield jersey as well. So a lot of fun there. I've always been a Baker guy since coming out of Oklahoma. Followed him throughout everything, every stage of his career. So I love Baker Mayfield, love the dog. But let's put that dog on chains this weekend, as he's yet to throw an interception. So let's see if this defense can force something there. Running back Bucky Irvin not having the best start to the season, 174 yards, no touchdowns, but he does have a receiving touchdown, just none on the ground. Rashad White has the only rushing touchdown of the season for the Buccaneers. Wide receiver Emeka Egbuka, 181 yards and 3 touchdowns. Watched him a lot last year with Ohio State. I think he was a bit of a sleeper pick this year. I don't think a lot of people were on to what he could do. Especially, I don't think a lot of people valued him when he was drafted by the Buccaneers. But if you had watched any Ohio State game last year, you know that Emeka Egbuka has that burst, has that skill, and he's been showing that this season thus far. Wide receiver Sterling Shepard also this season, 153 yards, as he's their number 2 receiver right now. As Mike Evans has 140 yards and a touchdown, but he did get injured and will not play this week. I believe he'll miss, I think it was 2 to 3 weeks with an injury there to him. Some other things on the Buccaneers you should know before the game this week. They are +2 in the turnover margin, as I said, have not yet turned the ball over. Has Baker Mayfield. So, again, the Eagles, a team that have not turned the ball over because they've been conservative. Let's see if we can open it up a little bit. Still play smart, but again, cannot turn the ball over here against this Bucs team. Bucs also just signed former Florida Gator and 400-pound defensive end Desmond Watson to their practice squad. They cut him in the offseason because he just wasn't able to lose weight. But now taking on this Eagles team and the tush push, bringing a 400-pound guy, I mean, they're going to look to stuff that. I'd be curious if the Eagles do get stuffed. They've done it, I think, once or twice, where they do like the off pass through the tush push. I'd like to see that utilized a little bit more, just to keep teams honest and not just be able to stack the box, because there is that threat of maybe doing something off of it. And something else on the Bucs, they have come back in every single game this season to win. They are the cardiac kids. You cannot count them out. So we need to get ahead early and put this one away. The Eagles do it better than anyone else with chewing the clock and getting through late games. So let's see that happen again here. But that will do it for the Eagles. See how much of the NFL I can get through here. As we had some great games this weekend. Starting off on Thursday Night Football, the Bills defeat the Dolphins 31-21. Dolphins now fall to 0-3. Bills go up to 3-0. Biggest thing in this one, defense could not get to Tua, but Tua had 146 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Could not really get it to his skill players, though. But I do give the Dolphins credit. They were able to be competitive in this one. After the 0-2 start, you needed some kind of rally. They did put it up here, but again, Josh Allen, James Cook has been absolutely incredible. James Cook, 19 carries, 108 yards, and a touchdown in this one. And then they relied on Dalton Kincaid, tight end there, for 66 yards and a touchdown. Finally got my boy Khalil Shakir the ball a little bit more as he gets a touchdown in this one as well. Moving on then to the Packers and the Browns. Browns pick up their first win of the season, 13-10 over the Packers. Jordan Love goes 18 for 25, 183 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Other big thing here by the Packers is they finally get my guy Matthew Golden out of Texas involved. He gets 52 yards and 4 receptions for himself there. There was a play where he had a reception on the sideline, and then he ran right out of bounds. I think he could have received it and kind of gone downfield. Could have got himself a long touchdown, but it was just a crucial third down that they were able to convert, so just to get that was important for them. They did choke a 10-point lead, though, in the fourth quarter as the Browns score all 13 in that quarter. Joe Flacco goes 21 for 36, 142 yards, and a touchdown. Somebody who's really stood out to me in this one was Quinshon Judkins, somebody we weren't sure was going to be able to play with all the legal issues. Had himself a great tandem at Trevion Henderson last year at Ohio State. He goes 18 carries, 94 yards, and a touchdown. So Judkin's somebody I wouldn't sleep on quite yet. I think that he's got himself a solid career that he can start up here within the NFL. I think this is a big breakout game for him there. They also, on that defense, you sacked Jordan Love 5 times in this game. Myles Garrett having 0.5 of those, and that now brings Garrett to 4 sacks on the season. So that Browns defense, I believe they're one of the best-ranked defenses at home so far. So keep an eye on this Browns defense and maybe give some leeway here for this Browns offense. And, Joe Flacco not playing great. I wonder how long they'll keep the string on him. Now Jackson Dart will be starting for the Giants. Maybe Shadur Sanders or Dylan Gabriel gets the start coming up here for the Browns. Now, Dylan Gabriel did have one appearance. I believe it was last week. He goes 3 for 3 in his time there with a touchdown. So Dylan Gabriel, Oregon Duck last year. I was a big fan of him. Maybe we bring him in here, get things rolling here for this Browns team, as you do have Cedric Tillman also having himself a nice season at wide receiver. Moving on now to two teams going in completely separate directions. Daniel Jones, 18 for 25, 228 yards, touchdown, and rush for 27 yards. Jonathan Taylor, this was his game, though. 17 carries, 102 yards, and 3 touchdowns for him. Now on the season has 338 yards and those 3 touchdowns. Michael Pittman continuing to have himself a bit of a resurgent season, 73 yards and a touchdown, and the defense has 4 sacks on the day against the Titans. Titans on the other end fall to 0-3. Not too much to talk about with them. Biggest thing there I want to point out is Wilk Ayomanor, probably pronouncing that wrong, but Wilk Ayomanor, 4 receptions, 38 yards and a touchdown. He's been getting himself more involved. Rookie out of Stanford. On the season now, 107 yards and 2 touchdowns. Keep an eye on him. He's a wide receiver I'm really liking so far this season. Now you had the Bengals and the Vikings, a matchup of 2 backup quarterbacks. Bengals go to 2-1 on the season as they fall in this one, 48-10. Jake Browning goes 140 yards, but 2 interceptions. They also fumbled the ball 5 times, 3 of those being a loss. Jamar Chase actually had one of those fumbles himself. On the other end, though, Carson Wentz, Pennsylvania, comes back in a huge way. A lot of people cheering for him to have this bit of a resurgence this year. He goes 14 for 20, 173 yards with 2 touchdowns. And running back Jordan Mason helps him out with 116 yards of his own and 2 touchdowns. Another former Eagle here, Isaiah Rodgers, forces 2 fumbles, recovers one of them, has an interception and a touchdown. Was not happy that the Eagles let him go. I think people undervalued what he was to this Eagles team. But a good day there for him for the Vikings as they move to 2-1 on the season. You also had the Steelers at the Patriots. Steelers win this one 21-14. Aaron Rodgers, 139 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. The other end, Patriots didn't play horrible in this one. Drake May had himself a solid game, 268 yards, 2 touchdowns, and interception, and led the team in rushing with 45 yards. Ramondre Stevenson had 2 fumbles in this one, and Antonio Gibson had a fumble as well. Let's go ahead and let's get my boy Trevion Henderson involved a little bit more when you're seeing what you're getting out of these other running backs. Let's get the rookie involved. You also had Hunter Henry go for 2 touchdowns in this game as well. Then you had the Jets at the Buccaneers. Just talked about everything that the Buccaneers have been doing and the comeback that they just had. Jets in this one, you had a good game out of Garrett Wilson, 84 yards and a touchdown. They blocked a field goal late and returned that for a touchdown. It was looking like the Jets were going to sneak out with a win here. Could not get it done, though, as they had 21 points in the 4th quarter alone. Moving on now to the Raiders and the Commanders. Raiders lose this one 41-24 to the Commanders. They didn't play a bad game, though. Geno Smith, 19 for 29, 289 yards with 3 touchdowns. Ashton Genty, just 63 yards. Trey Tucker had himself a big performance, 145 yards, and all 3 of those touchdowns from Geno Smith. He's a big waiver wire pickup there in fantasy. Commanders on the other end, Marcus Mariota with a fill-in here. He goes 15 for 21, 207 yards with a touchdown. He also rushes for a touchdown in his revenge game against the Raiders. Jeremy McNichols started out there, running back, 78 yards with a touchdown. And somebody to keep an eye on, second wide receiver here, Luke McCaffrey goes for 3 receptions, 56 yards, and a touchdown. In an absolute slaughtering here, the Panthers defeat the Falcons 30-0. Falcons falling to 1-2. The Panthers going to 1-2. Bryce Young with 121 yards in this game, and Tatoria McMillan going for 48 yards as well. This was a big defensive game there by the Panthers. Texans fall to the Jaguars 17-10. Not even going to touch on that. Texans 0-3 now, completely fallen off the face of the earth. Chargers beat the Broncos 23-20. Justin Herbert, absolutely electric to start this season. 300 yards in this one. We had a bit of an emergence here by Keenan Allen going for 65 yards and a touchdown. Chargers now 3-0 and leading that division. And with the way that the Chiefs have been looking, Chargers could run this division now, and I think that's something that could be sustained for a while. Najee Harris is out now for, I don't know if it was for the season or just for a while, but Marion Hampton finally gets himself a big game, going 70 yards and a touchdown. The Seahawks defeat the Saints 44-13. This is a big win there by the Seahawks. Sam Darnold going 218 yards with 2 touchdowns. And then Kenneth Walker III going for 38 yards and 2 touchdowns rushing. They also had a punt return touchdown by Torrey Horton. So a big game there by the Seahawks, a team that I have winning this West, and I think this is a big victory there for them. Thursday Night Football will be the Seahawks and the Cardinals. So another big important game there for the Seahawks. Cowboys fall to the Bears 31-14. This game made Caleb Williams look like absolute MVP. 19 for 28, 298 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Wide receiver Luther Burden makes a name for himself, going for 101 yards and a touchdown. This Cardinals-49ers game, the only big things to really come out of this one was Bosa is out for the season and James Conner out for the season, both for the opposition teams there. It's a crucial loss. That Conner injury was disgusting. Your leg is not supposed to bend that way. Bosa, another big loss there for this 49ers defense. And the 49ers have just been the most injured team, I think, of all time at this point. Every year taking on some other kind of big injury. The Chiefs and the Giants. The Chiefs defeat the Giants on Sunday Night Football 22-9. Chiefs still just don't look great. I mean, there was some controversy between Travis Kelce and Mahomes, between Travis Kelce and Andy Reid. I'm not sold on the Chiefs team. I'm not even saying that as a hater, but the Chiefs just don't look right. They don't look good. And you can say that they don't have a number one wide receiver, but then why do players like Jalen Hurts catch slack for having such a good wide receiver core? Let's just put that out there as a conversation piece. If you're going to say that somebody doesn't have a good wide receiving core and it makes them look bad, but then somebody who has a great wide receiving core, they're only great because of the wide receiving core, so something to keep an eye on there. I might actually make a video about that one. Check that out. And then Monday Night Football, what a great battle we had. The Lions defeating the Ravens 38-30. Jared Goff, 20 for 28, 202 yards and a touchdown. David Montgomery led the way on the ground with 151 yards and 2 touchdowns. Also followed by Jahmyr Gibbs, 67 yards with 2 touchdowns of his own. The offense is back, and they are electric, and this defense put up 7 sacks on a very elusive Lamar Jackson. Very impressive there. Ravens, on the other hand, falling to 1-2, not something you would expect to see. They did have a tough schedule to start this season off. Lamar Jackson, 21 for 27, 288 yards with 3 touchdowns. Derrick Henry, the fumble guy. We gotta start working on that, Derrick. All those big muscles, but you can't hold on to the ball. It's now, I believe, the second or third fumble of the season. Can't be having that. Mark Andrews was the lead receiver here with 91 yards and 2 touchdowns. And that'll do it for the slate there of the NFL. A lot of great games. Some surprises as well. This NFL season has been interesting to start nonetheless. There'll be some more great matchups this weekend, but that will do it for my time here. I'm CJ Tully. Check out Locker Room Buzz every Wednesday, 11 to 12 on 95.3 WCHE. Check out my new podcast, Let's Talk Sports. That is on YouTube and Spotify. I'll be posting my 3rd video of the week this Thursday. I'm going to be looking to push out a lot of content on there. It'll be pretty much a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday push there for content. And then follow me on Instagram and TikTok at LRBuzz_pod. We're also posting daily content on there as well. So if you guys like my voice, there's plenty of ways to get to it. Again, check that out at Let's Talk Sports and on Instagram at LRBuzz_pod. But thank you guys. Check you out next time here on 95.3 WCHE.